Sup. I hope you know what conditionals are. So here we're going to do a revision for if statements. Then we'll briefly talk about switch statements. And then we'll do a quick showcase of what the ternary operator, or rather the conditional operator, is. So yeah, let's start with if and else. If you just give me a moment. Okay, so let's have an example. Suppose we have, say, suppose we want to write a program, right, that takes in the marks, the score a student has, and then convert that into a grade. So what we can do is this. Let's do something like this, read line. Right? This will take in the student's score, but you notice there is an error. And what is the error? Now this must be the 100th time I've talked about it. And if you still don't know the answer, you probably haven't been listening. It's because console.readline is a string, and it needs to be converted to an integer, right? So in.parse. There we go. So this is the score. If you want a better user experience, then you should probably also write this. Enter score. Right? That's step 1 done. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to do a check. We are going to check the score and then decide what grade it should be, right? So here's what you can do, right? Let's plan out what the next few lines of code should be, right? So first, let's check if it is A, right? A range. After that, we check if it is in the B range, followed by C range, D range, and then F range, right? So this will be how we are going to do the check. So let's start by writing the if. Something to notice, when you write the if, right, the if statement, immediately after the parentheses, I would like for everyone to include the braces. Right? No excuses for not including braces at this point in time. It is important that we build a habit to include the braces immediately after our if. Now, let's write the condition in the if statement. Within the parentheses. So within this parentheses, we are going to write the score more than equals to 80. So if the score is 80 and above, right, student gets an A grade. Grade A. Something like that. Straightforward, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to keep writing this, and there you may observe a bug, but we will fix that. Okay, so if it is 70 and above, we assign the B grade. If it is 60 and above, we assign a C grade. If it is 50 and above, D grade. Right? Okay, then there's the F grade, which we will handle later. Now let's run this program first, and then let's see if there's anything wrong with it. Suppose the score is 90. Now, do you see what is wrong? Instead of the program telling the user, right, the assigned grade, the program instead prints out A to D. Right? Instead of choosing a single grade, the program gave 4 grades. Now, here's why. It is because 90, right, is bigger than 80. It is also because that 90 is bigger than 70, is bigger than 60, and is bigger than 50. Right? For all of these checks, the expression inside the if returns true, and that's the reason why the grade is printed out 4 times. Now, what should be the solution? The solution is to include the else if. Right, we need the else if block. So this is if. Okay, let's try to phrase this correctly. What we want to do here is to include this entire if statement, right? So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 if statements, which is wrong. Because within this code block, we only want one single outcome, which is that we get back a single grade. So it cannot be 4 if statements, there should only be 1, right? And the rest should be else if. Okay, now what does that mean? It means that if this very first expression, score more than 80, is true, right? And we print this text here, print this string here, grade A. After this is done, we immediately skip to the end of the if statement, right? We will no longer bother checking the rest, simply because it has already returned true for one of these cases, right? Okay, so that's how else if works. Now, if this is false, then the program will go on to check the next case, right? And if this is false again, it will move to check the C range. And if this is true, then we will print grade C, and then we will go to the we will go to the end of the if statement and continue with the program. We will not bother doing the final check here. Is that okay? Now, why don't we do a check? Let's do a quick check. If I put 90 here, I'm going to get grade A. Perfect. Right? If I put, say, 62, we're going to get grade C. So far, so good, right? So it's very important to know when to use else if. Alright? It's entirely possible that, if you write tons of if statements, then you're basically doing additional checks that you don't need to do. Okay, now, for the F range, right, we can just use else, right? So this is for all other cases, right? If everything above fails, right, we will go to the else case, and this is where we print grade F. As usual, you should do a proper check of the code, and it says F. Wonderful. And this is it for if statements. Very straightforward. Let's move on to switch statement. So what is a switch statement? Well, it functions very similarly to if statements, but it comes with more constraints. If people use switch statements in certain cases because they find it easier to read. So let's do a demonstration. Let's do a demonstration, yeah. Suppose we have this string called graphics setting, right? Graphics setting can be high, low, or medium. So let's do high. Okay. So we are going to check the value of graphics settings, right? And there are a few values that graphic settings may contain, one being high. Okay, the other being, say, medium. Finally, low. Right, so these are three different cases. Notice, right, after every single case, I do a break. Right, this part is important. Otherwise, when we enter this case, right, if there's no break, we will continue executing the other code below, and this may lead to well, logical errors in your program. Okay, so let's have something like this. Let's have all of the graphical features. Shadow map equals to true. This is the default value. Shadow map equals true. Anti-aliasing equals true, right? Ambient occlusion. I can't spell occlusion. Equals true. What else? So let's have say texture quality. Texture quality equals high. Very straightforward, right? Now, if the graphical setting say is high, then obviously we set everything to true. Anti-aliasing is true. Ambient occlusion is true, right? And texture quality is high. All right. Now, what if it's medium? Well, it's possible that for medium we have maybe no ambient occlusion. Texture quality set to medium, right? Maybe that's about it. If it is low, then we basically turn off every single feature, right? I want to highlight this is just an example, yeah? This is just an example. So you can kind of see that this is how it will work. So a switch statement, right, only works with very trivial comparison, right? Basically, you check a single variable for its value. Is it high? Is it medium? Is it low? Now, you would notice I put the string variable in there, but it can be of other data type as well. It can be an integer. It can be a character. Okay. That's it for switch statements. Right. At any point in time, you can pause the video and then just look through the code. But let's go through one last thing, which is the conditional operator. Let's take a look at this code snippet, right? Is eligible equals to false. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Suppose I want to check the age of a user, and then based on the age, I want to tell them whether they are eligible or not, right? Eligible for something, right? Whatever that is, that's not the point of this video. Now, let's first get the age. Let's get the age from the user. I will not bother with doing console.writeLine. You do that yourself, right? For the sake of time, I'm just going to do this quickly. Integer age equals 2. I grab the age from the user. Now, if age is more than equals to 18, I will say that it's eligible, it's true. I'll set it to true. Otherwise, I set it to false. So this code snippet is fairly straightforward, right? If the age is 18 and above, I set the boolean to true. Otherwise, I set it to false. Right? So you can I can then do a printout writeLine eligible is eligible. Okay, let's run it, do a quick test. So let's type, say, 17. Eligible, false, right? You see that? Now what if I change it to 18? Eligible, true. So this is where we get to the ternary operator, or some would call it the conditional operator. What I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to shorten this 5 lines into one line. All right. So here we go. This is the condition. I'm going to take the condition, put it here, put in a question mark, put true here, put a colon here, and put false. So this does the exact same thing as I have from earlier, right? The funny thing is, this is just an example, right, to demonstrate the conditional operator. There probably is a better example because in this particular case, right, I could have just done this and it would have worked the same. Yeah, but you know, let's just look at this example for now, right? And this is the condition. So what's happening here is the conditional operator works like this. It will check this condition. If this expression here is true, it returns whatever value we put here. Otherwise, it returns this value. All right. So I guess a better example would be this. I guess string is eligible, and then I can say eligibility, there we go, eligible, and then in the second case I say not eligible, right? So now instead of returning true or false, it returns a string. If I'm above 18, it returns eligible, the string. Otherwise it returns not eligible. Okay, now let's run this. Right, if it's 12, say it's not eligible. See that? So that's the example right there. And that's it. Yep. See you later.